Master Skywalker. There are too many of them. What are we going to do? Anakin locks eyes with the youngling. However, as he ignites his saber, he realizes that he can't follow through with the act. Suddenly, two troopers behind him start firing. Anakin watches each youngling fall, lifeless, to the ground. This is when he realized that he might be on the wrong side of history. Have you ever wondered what would have happened if Anakin had received PTSD following Order 66? Well folks, if you have, then that is what we'll be exploring today, as we dive into what if Anakin was even more traumatized by Order 66. After the massacre of the younglings, Anakin steps out of the Jedi Council chambers. Before the door closes behind him, he takes one final glance at the aftermath of the murder spree. He looks in horror at the pool of fresh blood spilled on the floor of the Jedi chamber. As he walks through the temple, he hears screams of fear and agony across what's supposed to be a holy sanctuary. It's now become the burial ground for innocents. Plasma bolts pierce through the sacred walls and through the flesh of men. Nobody is safe. The deed is finally done. Commander Appo walks towards Anakin to report. "Sir, all of the Jedi have been killed," Commander Appo reports, saluting sharply. "Oh, good work, Commander," Anakin replies. Anakin pats Commander Appo on the back. "Okay," Appo replies, but he senses that something is off with Anakin. Anakin walks to a pile of Jedi bodies. He gazes at each one of them. He can name every single one. He remembers the times that he's interacted with them, and he sees their smiling faces in his mind's eye. Anakin can't help but shed a tear. Anakin turns and sees his fellow troopers. This is usually when the 501st is celebrating a job well done, but there's no celebration this time. They're still processing what's going on. Commander Appo sees Skywalker acting a little bit strange, but he says nothing. While this is going on, two of the clones who had killed the younglings with Anakin approach their commander. It's clear that they're slightly nervous as they fidget with their weapons. "Do you need something, troopers?" Appo inquires. "Sir, we noticed that during the raid of the Jedi Temple, General Skywalker just didn't seem..." He pauses for a moment. "Spit it out, trooper," Appo demands. "He didn't seem himself," the other one finishes. "He didn't follow through with the order to execute the younglings, and I think that he may be having some..." The clone leans in towards Appo. "Treasonous thoughts," he whispers. Appo grunts. "Thank you for bringing this to my attention, soldiers. I'll go chat with the general myself." Appo sees Anakin staring at the bodies, and he approaches him. "General Skywalker, a word?" Anakin looks up, wiping the tear off of his face before the clone can see. He nods, agreeing to a private chat with Appo. "Anakin, a word from two of our officers said that you did not terminate the younglings as ordered. You know that's considered treason, right? I don't need to tell you what the penalty for treason is." "I know. I'm just not feeling myself at this time," Anakin replies. "General," Commander Appo halts Anakin. He then takes off his helmet. "What's going on? This isn't like you, sir." "I'm fine. Report back to Palpatine. Tell him the temple's secure," Anakin says. With a worried look on Appo's face, he puts his helmet back on and replies, "Yes, sir." Appo then reports back to Palpatine. Meanwhile, on the other end of the galaxy, Ahsoka is battling the attack from the other half of the 501st, as Commander Rex is taking out his inhibitor chip. Ahsoka defends Rex with all of her might, and just in the nick of time, they successfully deactivate his inhibitor chip. Before they leave the chamber, Ahsoka feels a deep pain in the Force. It's Anakin. She feels him mourning the loss of all of the fallen Jedi in the temple, but currently she has more urgent matters at hand. Despite this, however, Ahsoka can't seem to shake the nagging feeling that her old master was deeply wounded. After hearing the news of Anakin's completed mission on Coruscant, he's delighted to see his protege again when Anakin returns to his office. "Well done, my apprentice," Palpatine applauds. "Now, I need you to do me a small favor." Palpatine turns and reveals a group of separatist leaders on a projector. They're on Mustafar, supposedly waiting for Anakin to come visit them. The word was that they're gathered there to be rewarded for their efforts during the war. Anakin looks at the projector, and he sees them wandering around the room without a care in the world. Anakin looks one of the leaders in the eyes, and even though they're war criminals, he sees hope in them, as the younglings saw Anakin as hope for their survival. He starts to envision them being in the position of those younglings, in a room, not realizing where their lives would end, and that they would flood the floor of that room with their blood. Finish them, Palpatine adds. Anakin's heart races. He sweats profusely, and he begins to envision the dead bodies of his fellow Jedi and the younglings again. Vader! Anakin snaps back to reality. Would you do that for me? Palpatine asks. Yes, my master, Anakin replies. He pauses before he says the next words. But shouldn't we at least give them a fair trial? Appalled by Anakin's request, Palpatine interjects. Don't you trust me, Anakin? Yes, Master, of course. Then you know this is what is best for the Empire, Palpatine replies. After Anakin leaves the room, he is plagued by flashbacks and visions. He can't stand properly. He's trembling on his feet, gasping for air, trying to compose himself. Anakin struggles to even walk straight. His visions become more vivid as he goes towards his ship. Only when he arrives there is Anakin able to take a breather. He knows what he needs to do. He just doesn't know if he has the strength to do it. Anakin takes his ship and lands on Mustafar. He enters that dreaded chamber and the Separatist leaders welcome him to the room. Anakin now sees it in the flesh, and he knows what must be done, but as his hands reach for his saber, he looks across the room. He conjures another illusion in his mind, and he sees the Separatists as the younglings. He tries to rub his eyes clear of this vision, but every time he does, he just sees another dead body lying on the floor, lifeless, some of the luckier ones still being alive, screaming in agony as they bleed out from his doing. Anakin freaks out and screams, "Leave! Leave while you can!" Anakin storms out of the chamber. He runs across the Mustafar fortress towards his ship. Then he stumbles across Padme and Obi-Wan, who have flown in to check on what had happened to Anakin. They see Anakin now, shaken by the events that had transpired. They take him back to Coruscant. In this situation, Anakin is not mad at Obi-Wan. He's just lucky to see one of his old friends. As Padme and Anakin arrive back at her apartment, Padme reaches out to Anakin and asks what's happened. Anakin can't muster another word. Everything's okay now, Anakin. You don't know that, Padme, Anakin said. Padme tries to figure out a way to help Anakin open up about his feelings. He's never really been good at that anyway. What happened today is horrible. You don't need to tell me anything. I just want you to be okay. Padme tries her best to comfort the stricken Anakin. Her best is all that she can give, and her best is what Anakin needs. Anakin, touched by her gesture, tries his best as well, telling Padme what happened during Order 66, what happened between him and Palpatine, and the reason that he spared the Separatist leaders. Padme, even without the Force, can sense Anakin's pain deeply. She feels that Anakin's head is filled with regret, sorrow, and pain, just like when he had killed those Tuskens in Attack of the Clones on Tatooine all those years ago. She lays her palm on Anakin's chest. Whatever happens, Anakin, I'll be here. I know that you're a good man at heart. That's all that Anakin needs to hear. For the first time since the massacre in the Jedi Temple, Anakin feels a sense of peace. His vision calms. He starts to breathe normally again. He feels present, and he feels safe. Anakin begins to journey through the healing of his trauma. Just as Anakin can feel the comfort of Padme on his side, a radio signal comes to Anakin's communicator. It's Ahsoka, and she tells Anakin about all of her findings, about the inhibitor chip, and about the troopers forced to follow orders. Anakin puts the pieces together, and the pain that the troopers must have felt, bred to be slaves at the command of Palpatine, not unlike himself. This enrages Anakin to the core, but he does not want to give in to the pain. He doesn't want that to be done to anyone ever again, especially his brothers in arms. This is when he decides that Palpatine must go down. He knows exactly where his clone brothers would be during a challenging time like this. Anakin enters the 79's clone bar after bidding adieu to Padme and giving her a kiss on the forehead. She wishes him well, telling him that she hopes that things go the way he plans. Anakin nods, saying that he knows what he has to do next. In 79's, Anakin sees all the clones trying to drink their sorrows away after a long day. He can't bear the sight of his brothers being this way. Each one of the troopers is slamming alcohol down their faces like their lives depended on it, but nobody's enjoying it at all. One trooper approaches Anakin. He wraps his arm around his general. He drunkenly asks, "Hey, General, the things that we did back there, does that make us terrible people?" Anakin's head stays down. He knows the answer fully. Yes. Yes, we are, trooper. Well, lucky us then, or should I say lucky you, you know? You chose to be this, but we're all bred to be war criminals. And that's all we have now, Commander. Commander Appo is here as well. He's there for the same reasons as all the other clones were, but he's still sober enough to tell this trooper to stop and to leave the general alone. Enough. Let Skywalker go. The drunken trooper interrupts his commander. And what, so we can kill more Jedi, like the ones I slaughtered at the temple? A man I once called Commander, a man I once trusted, he trusted me, and I looked him in the eye, and I shot him with a plasma beam through his skull. He begged me for his life, and he asked me to let the others go. He was my commander before I was transferred to the 501st, and I killed him. I couldn't stop. I didn't have control over my body, and the drunk trooper gets emotional, and everyone in the bar tries to comfort him. He pulls his blaster towards Anakin. It's all you, General. It's all you. Give me a good reason why I shouldn't shoot you and end all of your suffering, the drunk trooper states. Put down your weapon, Private. Appo tries to stop him, holding the weapon of the drunken trooper. Anakin signals to Appo that everything is okay, that he has this under control. He walks to the trooper. You're right. Once you pull that trigger, you'll no longer be receiving commands from me. The trooper's in shock. But I also know that you're incapable of doing so. It's not you, it's in your programming. Even if you try, your inhibitor chip won't let you kill me. The drunk trooper tries his best to pull the trigger, but he realizes that he can't, even in his inebriated state. None of you had a choice. You're alive for the one and only reason to be sacrificed for the Republic, for Sidious, for his new empire. The trooper takes a step back. He tries to grab a seat and calm down, and all the troopers in the bar are also taken aback by Anakin's comments. It falls dead silent until another trooper interrupts. So, everything we've done, that's it then. We had no choice but to be... No! Anakin interjects. The Empire made you all killing machines. Made you with the intent to be obedient. Made you as creatures without will, but you did make a choice. You chose to be my troopers. You chose to be my brothers. We chose each other. We chose to stand by one another. As one of us falls, you stand to take his place and fight even harder. That's the 501st. I see your identity that you chose to be. You might not have chosen to be a soldier, but you chose to be a comrade to your fellow brothers, to the ones that are forsaken and the ones that fall. I want all of you to fight for your brothers one last time, for their lives, for they have suffered. The troopers start to cheer for Anakin. Tonight, I need you to make a stand for your souls, to make a stand against your fate, to tell the world that it's not about what you were made for, but who you choose to fight for, who you choose to be, and we choose freedom. The troopers erupt into a roaring cheer. Each one of them channels their anger against Palpatine. Anakin has successfully won over the soul of every trooper in the room. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, Ahsoka and Rex are working hard to help Anakin with his plan. They call out to many of the other troopers that they know are feeling regret or they think will help them on their mission. They tell them to gather on Teth. Rex reaches out to Commander Cody, one of his oldest friends and comrades during the war, because he knows that Cody would not fall into the same trap as many of the other clones. He knows that he would not simply follow orders blindly. He also tells Cody to bring any of the other troopers who he trusts to Teth for a meeting. When Cody arrives with his friends, which is actually a large amount, a huge contingent of troopers who respect their commander in the 212th, Rex and Cody embrace as brothers and as soldiers in arms. They have a great conversation about where they've been for the past little while, and they both reflect on Order 66. Rex speaks with Cody about the new direction of the Empire and how he just does not believe in what's going on. Initially, Cody says that all of this had been for peace and order, but he admits that he regretted trying to kill Obi-Wan, especially since they had served together for years. He doesn't believe that all of the Jedi were traitors to the Republic, especially not Kenobi. He doesn't appreciate all of the directions coming down from this new empire either, and he finds many of the orders to be against the Republic indoctrination that he was raised with on Kamino. Rex tells Cody that he could join them, and they could help remedy the mistakes of the past with all of these troopers here today. The other clones who had come with Cody, hearing the conversation between the two commanders, and also hearing Rex give an impassioned speech, much like Anakin did, voice their own opinions. They're also frustrated with the new direction of the Empire, and they feel as though they're seen as replaceable, something that many of them didn't under their Jedi generals. Rex ends up recruiting Cody after he willingly agrees with Rex's assertions, saying that the Empire was not where he wanted to be. Cody's men follow suit, agreeing with Rex. They also agree to take out their inhibitor chips so that they would absolutely never be forced to do the will of Sidious ever again. Ahsoka oversees this process, ensuring that everything is conducted correctly. It takes some time, but eventually, all of the clones lose their inhibitor chips on this planet of Teth. After this is done, these clones begin to amass supplies, shine their armor, and prepare for the trip to Coruscant. Meanwhile, on Coruscant, Anakin and Appo are formulating plans. They use Padme's apartment for their planning sessions. The other 501st troopers are in the room too, and it's quite crowded. Some of them remain outside, guarding the room. However, Padme is pleased to have them around. She loves clone company, and she also wants to remain informed about her husband's plans, especially because she is a chief political player in their plans. She gives them insider information that she's learned from some of her senator friends, and they're able to formulate a plan based on the element of surprise. All of the clones would assemble at 79's, the clone bar which Anakin had given his grand speech at, and they would proceed to announce their presence at the Imperial Palace. They would lead a full frontal assault with Anakin and Ahsoka, along with an infiltration by some defector ARC troopers, along with the Bad Batch. In this scenario, Obi-Wan also agrees to help lead this fight. He becomes one of the generals that Anakin would serve alongside once again, and Anakin smiles, knowing that he and Kenobi would once again be leading a mission together, just like in the good old days. Alongside them, they would have Ahsoka, and it would be just like fighting one of those old battles. In the depths of the underworld, the clones are reunited at 79's. When they arrive, Anakin is surprised at how many clones are looking at him with eager eyes. Not only are members of the 501st present, but there are also others from many other battalions across the galaxy. Appo smiles, and he says that he made a few calls to some of the clones that felt similar. There were even clones who had spilled over to the outside of the bar, who salute Anakin and Ahsoka as they enter, along with Obi-Wan. One of these is Commander Wolffe, who Ahsoka recognizes as the one who had served with Plo Koon. When the other clones arrive from off-world, the bar becomes even more packed. Rex sees Anakin and he embraces his old general, pleased to see that he had also seen the flaws in the new government. Rex tells Anakin about how he felt regarding the Clone Wars, and Anakin tells him how Sidious had been a Sith Lord who had ordered him to slay younglings. He even confides in him a little bit about some of the trauma that was still packed in the back of his mind. Anakin, who was already broken from being a slave in his youth, simply could not serve a man who was that evil. Rex then sees Appo and laughs, happy to see one of his old troops again. They're both commanders now, and they're happy that they can treat each other as equals in this assault. When Anakin sees Ahsoka in person for the first time again, their reunion is sweet. Anakin hugs her, telling her that he has been sorry that he couldn't have done more to help her with what had happened with the Jedi Order. Ahsoka says that she knows Anakin had done everything that he could have, and that they needed to focus on their plan now. Padme also enters the bar, eager to hear the plan that her husband had concocted. She believes in the removal of Palpatine from the government after his grand speech to the galaxy, and she wants these brave clones to know that she, along with other members of the Senate, are on their side. Obi-Wan and Cody also reunite, and Obi-Wan forgives his clone comrade, seeing now that he had a different look in his eye, no longer driven to a frenzy by the inhibitor chip. Obi-Wan says that he understands that Cody had not had control of himself, and so they were back together again, brothers in arms. Anakin briefs them all on the plan. After this, the clones are fired up and ready to go. They want to restore the Republic that had seen their brothers die for it. So, they look forward to what will come next, even if it may mean their deaths. After the meeting at 79's, Anakin begins to lead the clones back to the surface of Coruscant with Ahsoka and Obi-Wan. They take their LAAT gunships to the surface and prepare a full frontal assault on the palace. Initially, the Coruscant Guard is taken aback by this. They had no knowledge of any clone defections, and they certainly didn't anticipate the new apprentice of the Emperor leading an assault. However, Admiral Tarkin, who is stationed in the garrison on Coruscant, is resourceful. He quickly deploys more clones stationed at the garrison to counter the invasion. Because of this incident, Anakin covertly orders his Arcs and Bad Batch to change their target from the Imperial Palace to hitting Tarkin in the garrison. Knowing that they're adaptable, Anakin allows them to continue on their own while he continues to fight back against the incoming troopers. Appo, Rex, Cody, and the others have gathered to fight and are hesitant to kill their clone brothers, especially since they know that they have no choice in the matter. However, they've dedicated themselves to restoring the Republic, and they know what they have to do. They continue to plow through, using that element of surprise to their advantage. Anakin, Ahsoka, and Obi-Wan try to injure rather than harm the clones when possible, knowing that they've been brainwashed by the Empire. Anakin can empathize with that, as Palpatine had been manipulating him for years. He also remembers the dead bodies that he had seen at the Jedi Temple, the younglings. He sees it in the clones' eyes. They are literally child soldiers. Anakin doesn't want to kill more people. He doesn't want more blood on his hands. For a moment, he pauses in the heat of battle, gazing away, before Obi-Wan shakes him too, and Anakin resumes his push forward. That doesn't stop him from getting in his head, though. Finally, they manage to break through the gates of the palace, forcing Fox's Coruscant Guard to fall back inside. Anakin's forces continue to advance, and eventually, they force a surrender from Fox and his men. Meanwhile, in the garrison, the Bad Batch manage to sneak inside undetected thanks to Tech's computer skills. He slices into the side entrance and turns off cameras for that position. The group enters stealthily, stunning any clone guards who pass by them. Wrecker is sad that this is a stealth mission, but he goes along with it. Tarkin is alone in his office. Hunter is able to track the electromagnetic pulses from his holo-tablet. They maneuver through the vents, and while they normally would have had to rely on Crosshair's sniper skills to help them out, they can't, because he had joined the Empire. So instead, the ARC troopers take Tarkin out from above, before they scurry away, unseen, successful in their mission. For a moment before Anakin and his troops barge into Palpatine's office, he takes a step back, panting. Obi-Wan sees this, and he asks his old friend if he's okay. Anakin's face is white. Obi-Wan can see that clearly Anakin is traumatized, and clearly something was wrong. He can sense his distress in the Force. Ahsoka and Obi-Wan both comfort Anakin, saying that they know he had done terrible things, and that he was experiencing a lot of grief and remorse. However, at that same time, they also tell Anakin that he was leading this assault, and he needed to stay strong for his men in that moment. Many of them were feeling the same things as him, especially considering what they had endured in the war. At this, Anakin nods, believing them, and he knows what he has to do, and he knows that he has the strength to do it. Anakin leads the charge into Palpatine's office, his troops following behind him. Palpatine cackles, looking forward to a challenge. He unleashes a barrage of lightning that overtakes the clones. Anakin and Ahsoka, along with Obi-Wan, block as much as they can with their sabers, and Rex dives to the side with Cody. However, Commander Appo and many of the others in the attacking clone force are not so lucky. Palpatine takes many of them out with one fell swoop, as their Durasteel armor is overtaken by lightning. Palpatine focuses on the Jedi, commenting about how Anakin is a traitor and how he knows that he wants to kill him, just like is the Sith way. Anakin is starting to crumble under the pressure of Sidious's barrage, not willing to give in to his dark side inclinations this time, and Ahsoka must take a few steps back as she starts to become overwhelmed. Sidious cackles, seeing his path to victory. However, in his dark rage, Sidious becomes distracted by his force-wielding opponents. He neglects to sense the surviving clones in the room. From behind him, Rex pulls out his pistol and fires multiple rounds into the Emperor's back, causing him to stumble and fall. Much like his rage overtook him in Return of the Jedi with Luke, so too did it in this situation. He never would have anticipated the clones turning on him like this. Then, Rex puts a blast directly through Palpatine's head, ending his reign of tyranny. Anakin and Ahsoka turn off their lightsabers, panting from exhaustion. Obi-Wan holds it for a moment. his normally pristine hair a little bit awry, before shutting off his saber, taking deep, meditative breaths at the end of the conflict. Once the remaining clone loyalists to the Empire have been rounded up, they're also recommended to remove their inhibitor chips by Rex, just like everybody did in Rex's invading force. Some of them do, others do not. Still, a lot of them regret their allegiance to the Imperial government, and they're pardoned of their actions as they didn't have any choice in the matter when it came to killing the Jedi. Anakin, Ahsoka, and Obi-Wan return the Senate to Amida under the condition that he reinstate the Republic that Palpatine had dissolved and that he call an immediate election. In this situation, Padme is elected as Chancellor, and she begins a rapid post-Clone Wars demilitarization of the Republic. She also negotiates a treaty with the remaining separatist leaders who Anakin had allowed to leave due to his trauma. Anakin decides to begin rebuilding the Jedi Order. He knows that he has his issues, but he wants to do some more good for the galaxy. He believes that giving back will help heal him, and that meditating on the Jedi way in his own fashion, rather than the dogmatic views that he had become accustomed to, would truly help him heal his internal wounds, not just from Order 66, but also going back to his childhood. This time, he was going to do things differently. He finds remaining Jedi from across the galaxy, like Yoda and Cal Kestis. He then takes them to Naboo, where he begins rebuilding alongside his newborn younglings, Luke and Leia. They grow up with both Anakin as a father and a teacher. Padme also decides to teach them about the ways of the galaxy, and she's a good mother. However, Anakin takes on a lot of the parenting duties because she is busy as the Chancellor, until her term limit expires. Then, she returns to Naboo and cares for her children as well. The Republic is restored, and the clones are treated fairly by the new administration, especially for their service in the coup. Rex, Cody, and Wolf are given medals for their service, and Appo is given a posthumous award for his role as a commander. Finally, the galaxy is at peace. Anakin has his new order, and he is beginning to heal the wounds inside of himself. He speaks with his Jedi comrades about healing and about his actions. They listen to him, and they help him come to terms with the fact that now he was a different person, and that he might always struggle with some of these things that he had grown up with and the atrocities that he'd committed under the guise of peace, prosperity, and freedom for the Empire. However, he knows that now he'd done some good in the galaxy, and that calms his ailed heart. Not only is the galaxy at peace, but for the first time in a very long time, Anakin begins to find some peace within himself. Alright folks, now I'm going to transition into the Ask Me Anything portion of this video, which is where we take questions from the Discord and we talk about them at the end of our new videos. Today's question, again, comes from Chase, just like in our last video. And he asked if we could have more VCs for What Ifs. I asked if you meant for brainstorming ideas or watch parties for the videos when they release, as we have had some brainstorming sessions with our fans for What If videos in the past, but we haven't done any watch parties in the Discord yet, and he said both. So, to answer that question, I think that it is a fantastic idea. However, I've got to say, a lot of the time, especially on Mondays and Fridays, my schedules are quite busy right when our videos release, so I would not have the chance to really dive into a big watch party. However, I could definitely do them perhaps on Saturdays after the video releases on Friday, maybe once a week, and see how that goes. We'll see. It's an interesting idea, and I wouldn't be opposed to testing the waters in the future. I can't give any guarantees though, simply because of my crazy schedule as a university student, but it is a possibility going forward. Thank you tons for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, I would really recommend checking out this other video, which is going to be linked at the end of today's. We really appreciate all of you, and if you want to interact more with myself and our other team members, please join our Discord. We love talking to you guys and hearing what you have to say. Maybe your questions will even be featured in one of our future videos. In addition, there's a possibility that your What If video may come to fruition. So, again, join our Discord, and we would love to chat with you. I hope that all of you are having an absolutely bantatacular day. And, as always, I hope that you've had your daily delicious dose of Bantha Stew.